We've hit 100 subscribers here on Virtually the Teacher, and I have such a low bar of success, we might as well have gone viral. Well, not really. This channel will never be successful. Why? I'm not trying to sell you anything. 2, I could care less about plugging myself shamelessly on social media. I'm not ambitious. You're never going to see a celebrity video. You're never going to see a shock video. You're never going to see me in a bikini showing my boobs and my abs. So really, this channel doesn't have much going for it, other than hopefully providing you with some tips and tricks that just might help you become a more engaging teacher. We all know that online learning can be much harder for some students. And I'm not sure about you, but there's times when I'm presenting and I get this sense that there's something not quite right in the connection with students. And I'm not talking about internet connection. So today we're going to look at why that might be happening, and more importantly, what can we do about it? Information is processed in the working memory of the brain, where we hold small amounts of new information for a very short time. The average person can only hold on to around 7 chunks of new information in their working memory at a time, and can only work on about 4 chunks at a time. Learning happens when we successfully transfer new information from our working memory into our long-term memory. Because of the nature of online learning, our students need to learn and navigate a whole heap of new digital literacy skills, as well as learn new content that's often been developed for a face-to-face environment and doesn't necessarily translate well into the online learning space. When there is too much information to process, some students may feel cognitive overload. This happens when they reach a point of paralysis of information, not being able to process and then act on what is heard. When cognitive overload happens, students can respond in a variety of ways. They might have paralysis where they just freeze, there's just too much content coming at them and they don't know what to do. They might have passivity where they just kind of go along with anything that's happening in the room, but they're not really engaged in it. They might purposefully disengage where they do something on the side, they leave the session, or they may even leave the course altogether. And then lastly, students may sometimes get angry. Okay, so what do we do about cognitive overload? My number one tip is to make sure that you do regular and varied check-in with students. By regular, I mean put it into your lesson plan that at stages you are going to check in to see how students are managing with the content. And by varied, I mean mix things up. Don't keep checking in with them using the same method. So you could ask students to come on camera so they have the opportunity to ask you a question or to get you to go over something again. Or you could invite students to jump into the chat box and rate how they are finding the lesson content on a scale of 1 to 10. Or you could do an anonymous poll or Mentimeter. Or you could contact the students one by one with a private message on the side just to gauge how they're going with the content of the lesson today. However you word your check-in, make sure that there's no blame or shame attached to the students. So rather than asking questions like, are you understanding this or do you get it? Try rephrasing that to, how are you finding the pace of the content today? Or is there something that I've delivered today that would be helpful for me to go over again? By making the focus of the check-in around the content or the pace of the content, students are more likely to tell you the truth about how they're actually going, because they're not made to feel less than if they're the ones that are finding it difficult. Nobody wants to be the student that puts up their hand and goes, I'm the one that doesn't get it. The other advantage of regular check-ins, particularly at the start of a course, is that it allows you as the teacher to identify if a student might need some additional tutorial or language literacy numeracy support for the course. Now there are a whole lot of other strategies that you can use to optimize cognitive load, but I'm going to save those for another episode. So that's it from me. I'll catch you next time on Virtually the Teacher.